Hello, RCrockin here. Today, I am going to be reviewing the T-150. I'm sorry I haven't made a video in a long time. Again, school has been getting in the way. Blah blah blah. You probably don't want to hear about that. You probably want to hear about the T-150. Now, putting this into perspective, the T-150 is the Tier 6 Russian heavy tank. Now there are free Tier 6 Russian heavy tanks. The KV-2, which I have done a video on, I'll leave a link to that below in the bottom left or bottom right of the screen. I will also leave some links to my channel on the top left and top right at the end of the video if you want to see those. Anyway, the T-150 is one of the free Russian heavy tanks that you go through. Now, if you've been thinking about going to Russian artillery, but you don't want to grind all the way up to Tier 7 here, you can go through the KV-2, which I did another video on, yada yada yada. Now, what makes the T-150 so different from the other tanks is, well, let me bring up the stats here. Vehicle details. Vehicle details. And vehicle details. Okay, that's not what I wanted to do. I think I clicked the wrong thing there. Yeah, I did. I don't want you guys seeing my stats. I'm gonna invite trolls if I do that. Very rarely do I show my stats. I've been having very bad games recently. So, here are all three of the Russian Tier 6 heavy tanks. They're all free? The Russians have a lot of tanks, almost as much as the Germans. Now, as you see, these were the further development. Now, T-150, this is the one that we're going for. Now, it's got 90 millimeters in the front, 90 millimeters on the sides, and 75 on the rear. So the weight distribution is a bit awkward on this tank, which means the suspension is quite powerful actually in some places. And I found that you can do certain cliff dives in this tank, but not too much. Here's the description. Now, what most people are told to go for is the KV-1S. This is always the first tank line that everyone goes through when they're new to World of Tanks and just want to play tanks. This is always the first line. Now, people I know we'll go for the T-28, KV-1, and the KV-1S. But the KV-1S compared to the T-150, let's get the KV-2 out of the view here. The KV-1S gets that. If we go to the KV-1S, go to the KV-1S, 122 millimeter gun. But this gun has a very slow rate of fire. Now, it is one of the most accurate guns in the game. Even though it says 2.9, this is the Russian scale. So that means that it is backwards. It is one of the most accurate guns in the game. There's little known about this tank that the KV-1S is one of the most accurate tanks in the game. But this gun is probably one of the most unpredictable guns in the game. As unreliable as the Super Pershing or the IS-7's gun. It'll either hit or it'll either miss. Now, it also has a very long aim time. And notice how it doesn't tell you how long the aim time is. You know, 2.9 seconds, sorry. I'm looking at the wrong stats. That's the aim time right there. It's 3 seconds. So it's as much as a French gun. 0.517 dispersion at 100 meters. Okay, so let's go ahead, put that under here. Now the KV-1S, what it doesn't have is, look at the whole armor. That armor is 75 millimeters on the front, 60 millimeters on the sides, and the rear. Now what that means is, the T-150 is a more well-armored machine, but it also has a better armored turret, and is slower. Now the KV-1S, that 122 millimeter gun, that's all it's got going for it, and that gun's being removed next patch. So if you're new to World of Tanks and you're looking at what you should get, I would recommend the T-150. Because the T-150 is very user-friendly. If you use your angling right, you can really get the armor of this thing working for you. Remember, this is tier 6, so 180 millimeters is pretty standard for most of the guns at tier 6. And tier 7 on medium tanks. Now if I go to the T-150, over here to the tech tree, the T-150 has the 122mm U11, 57mm from the KV-1, and the 85mm. It also has the 76mm S51. Now, the T-150 is a hold-down tank. This side, it is a very thick turret. And let's get rid of these, because these are just crowding the screen, and I already told you guys about this. And the KV-2, we'll compare that later, okay? So the T-150 is very slow. I've beaten 35 miles per, or kilometers per hour. Really wish I went in miles per hour. Annoying thing about being American is you don't really know how much a kilometer is. You get 18 degrees reverse speed, which isn't slow, but it's certainly not the best. The weight load limit, it's got 4-ton power to weight ratio. Very bad. Now, one of the disadvantages of all Russian tier 6 heavy tanks is that spot range. That spot range is really bad. Okay? So, if you're in a tier 6 Russian heavy tank, you're all alone. You're going to want to stay to close quarters, where situations where you'll be able to angle your armor, yet you'll be able to spot them. Now, there's many maps on what these situations are, and I have a few matches in store that I kept on replays while I was grinding. So, the turret armor, 100mm in front, on the side. Very good armor, because when you look at the T-150's turret, move this out of the way, please. Look at the shape of that turret. Okay, that angling there is almost 70 degrees, so there's very little likelihood they will pin you. And there's the gun mantlet here, which is probably the flattest part in the turret. I have been pinned there before with gold, but you're going to need a good 200mm to go in, because that's about up to here is how thick the gun mantlet is. Now, the top armor here, the T-150 is one of those tanks that's famous for getting hit by artillery, because artillery loves massive engine decks. But yeah, it's a hold-down tank. If someone you see is aiming at your turret or these ports, I suggest shaking your turret, as most tanks do. But yeah, it's a very good tank, and it's often looked over because of KV-1S and the KV-2. Now, the KV-2 is the same. Here, let me compare it to something a bit more sizable. KV-1. Vehicle details. Now, the KV-2 was a bunker buster tank. It was not meant to fight other tanks. This is World of Tanks. They just added it in because it's World of Tanks. Now, this tank was not meant to fight other tanks. Okay? It's got better power to weight ratio than the KV-1. Now, it also has, believe it or not, worse armor than the KV-1. So don't expect to bounce anything in the KV-2. I have a video on that. So basically, T-150 is a better choice than KV-2, unless you just want to play KV-2 for that 152mm howitzer. Because what most people do is they often go for the tanks for their guns and not for their performance. Now, if you're new to World of Tanks, I suggest going for the T-150. The KV-1S is actually, that line's a bit hard to play, and I don't want to buy a KV-1. Thank you very much, T-150. Now, I actually researched the T-150 from the KV-2, because I didn't want to buy a KV-1 and go slowly around at tier 5. And plus, KV-2 just spawned. Now, the 107mm GIS-6 gun on the KV, or not KV, great, I'm getting it mixed up now. The T-150 is a lot better than the guns on the other tanks. I mean, you get a .45 dispersion at 100 meters. Anyways, and a 3.4 second aim time. It is a long aiming time, but this is the same gun that is... Okay, so I just hit the 10-minute mark. Anyways, where was I? This is the same gun as used on the A44, which I already have. And that's why I had this gun researched, so all I really had to do was research the suspension and inventory. Now, if you're upgrading this tank, I recommend you go for the 85mm gun first. And you go for the T-150M suspension. If you have the engine unlocked, buy the engine, get the radio later, you know, just get it on your way. And it's a rather easy grind. So after you get this, now this turret, don't go hold down this turret, because this turret will almost always, you know, get pinned. Also it says KV, no, T-150 KV, okay. But this gun has better DPM and better performance than the other guns, I feel. And I want to show you guys that in a match. So let's go ahead, get into a match, and I'll show you guys how this tank performs in the game and how it really works. But remember, if this tank's playstyle, if you don't like armor, you don't like being slow, you're not going to like this tank. You're going to want a medium tank. Because, remember, it's never about the tank. It's always about the player. It's the skill base. Let's go ahead and get this into a battle. Seeing I passed over the 8-minute mark, I might make this a 20-minute long video since it's been a while. I may not. Okay, so we're here on Abbey. Now, this isn't the best map for a T-150, but it's not the worst. You got close quarters. Now, T-150 does have a rather large lower glacis, so do expect some shells not to go in right around here. So you want to hide that, a lot like the German tanks. You want to hide your lower glacis. Now I am going to be buying Bandicam because I have decided that I have fallen in love with this software. And I am typing and I have a mechanical keyboard. I'm very sorry. I prefer live action games, I really do. I honestly do. Because you just kinda... ELCAMX stuff. I'll get on a discussion about light tanks in the future. Now, T-150, rather slow, hitting 35, but you see I'm going over 35. This tank can easily go 40 kilometers per hour if it wants to. Depending on slow, it can go pretty fast. It's kind of like the way M46 practice tanks. This tank's very mobile. It has, believe it or not, decent trajectories. Now, maybe incorrect, but I have 100% cruise. I could be wrong completely in that factor. Going down this area, and I've never really been down this area before. Honestly, I haven't. I've always been going up the medium tank. I seem to have lost the T-49. But we do know we have an artillery defenses a TD around the corner. But it's a bird. It doesn't think it's a TD, it's just stupid. No. Birds are going to be nerfed in the next patch, by the way. I forgot that. I'm not sure if I went over that. Never really drove a bird before. Never done one of those tanks. It's fascinating. It was fun, but it's like I've seen videos of it. It looks fun, but it's not really one of those tanks. But it used to be a real good dog food. It is now. It's not really out there anymore. Oh, it's lower glaciers for sure. Oh no, yeah, my flat card. What I'm doing here, this is what you want to do.
Движение невозможно. Пробитие. Скорость движения и поворотов снижена.
Okay, that's not... Oh, he's going for the driver's hatch.
Есть пробитие.
And that wasn't right. He's definitely using the big hole. Okay, you do.
Есть пробитие.
Notice how the KV-2 is playing. The KV-2 is an ugly crap in most perspectives. That M6 knows nothing.
Повреждение гусеницы. Шанс разрыва увеличен. Повреждение гусеницы. Шанс разрыва увеличен.
Kidding me. That was a bad game.
Танк уничтожен.
It was my... No. And that's what happens. That's just tier 6 for you right there. So I want to go ahead and show you a game that I did get in the T-150 that was very good. As I always pre-record game in case something like this happens. And I'll see you later. Hello, we're back. And this is... Let me adjust my window so I can see the game. A battle that I had on, okay, space. On Richard. Now, this was actually very interesting. I almost got a Top Gun this game, but I did get a Mastery First Class. Which I believe I can actually show you guys now when I upload it to whatreplays.com. This is a game I had in my T-150 soon after I upgraded. And I was in the zone when I was playing this game. And I might have to pause it here, get my adjustings right. Let's see, I don't want names.
Бой начинается.
Free camera activated. And I believe I was getting a drink. Yes, I believe that's what was going on. Don't worry, I'm gonna skip this. Oh. Nope. Right, there we go, I'm back. I was typing, that's what it was. Yeah, increase the size of my mini-map. Is that as big as it gets? That's not a very big mini-map. This is only allowing me 2 sizes. I guess it's the size of that. So, I look at the mini-map. See that? Yeah, we gotta have it going that way. One of them is a smart to go that way too. Which I believe I was relying on the VK361H to go over this way. And it might be a bit awkward this entire game. I'm not really sure what's going on there. I did a nice amount of damage this game. I actually was quite pleased with myself. So you see me coming up over here. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm noticing there's tanks on the enemy hill already. So what I've done is that position I've come up in, I'm only showing my turret. Holding down there and getting myself in a good position. I may not have a 40 or 50% win rate, but I don't platoon. I do not. I'm not bad at the game. I know what I'm doing. Remember, it doesn't take much to roll the tanks. You gotta know what you're doing, you gotta respond to your enemies in situations. Just during the summer, it's a lot harder to be good at World of Tanks than it is during the winter. Once I heard kids are off, yeah. What else is there? I guess the graphics, computer for all the entire school year. This is a very old computer, keep in mind, which I may upgrade. So I'm coming up here.
Радиус связи снижен.
Now, he pins me about there, and that'd be the proper spot for a radio operator. Yeah, I believe
Есть пробитие.
everything else. Trying to break the surface here. There's 2 leopards. I could not resist this. Oh my god, yes. Load high explosive, please.
Уничтожен.
Didn't think load high explosive at the time. I was thinking of doing it, but I just yeah, screw it. I don't want to wait another 6 seconds I think the reload is on this tank.
Готов.
Yeah, so this is my camera at the time. I'm just killing everything in my path.
Готов.
And that's why I really, you can't do that in KV1. That's why I like the T-150. Or you can't do that in KV1, but on the KV1S. And that's really what the advantage of the T-150 has. It has the ability to do something.
Готов.
You know, if you're in KV1S, you can do this. Or KV2, you can't do this. KV-2.
Есть пробитие.
So he bounces, and I'm trying to hide my Lord Glacius now. It's really just a quick moment of really showing what the rate of fire on this tank is.
Пробитие.
Now this is where I get the attention of every single artillery in the game. 1, 2. Now wait for it, there's more coming. I'm gonna go right there. Nope, there's the bird shot. Then
Финиш разбита.
tracks
Уничтожен. Повреждение гусеницы. Шанс разрыва увеличен. Приборы наблюдения повреждены. Гусеница сбита, движение невозможно. Мехвод контужен. Скорость движения и поворотов снижена.
Dead.
Разбит триплекс. Видимо, снижена. Повреждение гусеницы. Шанс разрыва увеличен. Гусеница. Танк уничтожен.
There's nothing I can do there. The A-44 is a good tank, and he was in the right position. And he capitalized. And I just knocked off my headset. I'm sorry about that. But that's what you can do with a good rate of fire on this tank. That's really what I think you can do with it. I may have another replay. I'm gonna have to sort through, but I'm gonna show you guys a game where I actually did survive in this thing. I did pretty good. Okay, so we're here at the overview of the game. This is the Watt Replays website. I am using the Bandicam recording window. Now, if you ever want to see any more of my replays, same thing, same account name. So, that game I earned 22,000 credits. That's a lot for a tier 6 game. But really, it wasn't an okay game. It was a good game, but it wasn't really bad game, you know, it was in that area. Again, okay game and my T-150. That's basically it. I feel that, but I was the only one who got actually a medal here. Killed every vehicle I saw and destroyed. Did damage to the Cromwells. Okay. Thank you for telling me, okay. Anyway, so didn't do the most damage on my. Actually, I think I did do the most damage on my team there, and 800 damage. Just no. Did 1.5k damage. I did the most damage on my team. I'm looking at the wrong things. I'm reading the wrong things. I don't know why. But 5 kills, 800 experience. I was on the top of the people who die. And you guys know very well I died. I managed to get into the hell? T-49. Oh dear, that's a bug they're going to have to fix. That was not a T-49 scout tank. He did absolutely nothing that entire game though, unless that's just broken. But I did the most damage on my team, and let's see. Blocked by armor, 300 damage. I probably didn't win on that department, and there's probably other tanks that did better. But this tank has kinda, the way you saw it play, you can't do that in a 1S, you can't do that in a KV-2. And that's what really makes the T-150 special, is because it can do things that the other Russians can't do. It has that rate of fire, and it has that ability to go 1 on 4 or 5 and just scare the living shit out of everything there. You see how scared the scout tanks and that Cromwell was? T-49 ran for it. Anyway, that's how this tank feels. And that's kind of how it plays. It's a very intimidating tank. And honestly, if you ever run in one of these on the battlefield, I would recommend probably shooting at the lower glacis. Those ports are a real good weak point, and probably that top right there where the gun matches. I did get a Mastery 2 on this, not Mastery 1 or a Ace Tanker. Honestly, I felt that should have been a bit more than just a Mastery 2, but I just got lucky that game. I mean, if I had a better game in storage, I would, but sometimes I forget to, and that happens now and then. Can't really blame me for that. But that was basically the game on the T-150. Pretty decent game. So if you did like the video, please do leave a like. If you want to see some more of my future content, there will be a subscribe button in the top left of the screen. If you want to see some of my past content and some of my older stuff, I do have that KV2 link, and I believe it was in the first few minutes of the video. I don't know the exact time. Yeah, I think that's it. So, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please do like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.